All right, so welcome everyone. Today's February 25th, 2026, and I guess we're all here to look at the property opportunity notice for 845 11th Avenue in Williams Lake. Just for a heads up, this meeting is going to be recorded so you can watch it in the future, and if you're enjoying it now live, then great. So as we present this property opportunity notice, it'll be a jointly presentation with BC Builds, BC Housing, with myself, Ryan Chu, Ali Butcher, and Emma Jane Burian, as well as a few others that are going to help participate and answer questions at the end. We've also got Carol Rodriguez from Williams Lake First Nation, as well as Marie Whitehead and Gary Marika from the City of Williams Lake. And as we go through this presentation today, we've got a quick agenda. So there's going to be 3 parts. First part, we're going to do a quick overview of BC Builds. Then as well as the property opportunity notice, how it's going to be evaluated, and then turn it over to Williams Lake to present the opportunity details. Then lastly, at the end, we're going to go through a Q&A, trying to answer as many questions as we can. And just a heads up as well, further questions from this Q&A, as well as anything that comes after, will be collected up to the inquiry deadline of March 10th, 2026. After that, we're going to post an addendum with all of the responses. First, about BC Builds, we'll do a quick overview just to recap and help respondents understand and embrace the program of what we do with BC Builds and how it can help, respond to the property opportunity notice for this project in Williams Lake. So BC Builds is a housing program delivered by BC Housing to speed up the development of new homes for middle-income households throughout the province. And how we work is we try to use low-cost land, low-cost financing, as well as work with project partners to speed up project timelines to reduce the time it takes to get a building from concept into construction. And we strive to find creative ways to add housing to existing sites, incorporate housing above new infrastructure, or just help secure development builder partners and builder owner operators to projects. And that's really the foundation of most of the housing development opportunities that are posted. And just as a recap for BC Builds, we are a part of BC Housing, and BC Housing traditionally focuses on, from the left side, I guess the 3/4 of this portion, from the left to the right, and BC Builds, we focus mostly on the right half of this housing spectrum. So anything that has affordable market rentals all the way to pure market level rentals for middle income households. Specifically for how BC Builds works, we post housing development opportunities on our platform on the BC Builds website, where various opportunities are there to find different types of partnerships and proposals for sites. They're not all the same. And there's just a variety of different, mechanisms that can be presented, and they're not all structured in the same way. So all the sites that are posted will be fully zoned or will have started the rezoning process. And that really helps reduce the uncertainty of what can be developed and expedite timing. This is just a snapshot of what it looks like on the website with the different opportunities, the timing, the sites, and just a glimpse of it. If you've been on other info sessions before, you've seen the housing development opportunities and how they worked. This one is slightly different. So this one, we're going to focus mostly on financing only. So there's no grants available from BC Builds or BC Housing. And we're looking for developers and owner operators to take on sites with a long-term lease on the property. And when you respond to this project in particular, the owner operator partner is not needed in the submission, but indication of how the long-term strategy is going to work out is required to have a plan in place. So these are our financing rates for the construction financing, as well as our assumptions for underwriting takeout in how we size our loans. This is the standard criteria for all BC Builds, BC Housing projects, so it's not program dependent. More details of these rates and how they work on our website detail about how we size our loans as well. So most of our underwriting criteria is based off 35-year amortization with 1.1 DCRs for residential and 1.3 DCRs for commercial components. So now we'll just highlight a few key projects that we've done throughout BC Builds, and how we work is we just work across the entire province. We don't have specific target regions. We'll just do projects wherever there's a need and demand. And this map just quickly displays all the different sites that we've got currently on the go. This one here is a good example of another project that went through the Housing Development Opportunities process. It's a project here in Sun Peaks, and can't remember where we're at now, but construction has started September 2025. So the process did work. We had expedited timelines, and this one here took about 4 months to break ground. We also have other traditional projects with BC Builds where instead of using public land, sometimes we have just financing only projects where groups can bring in their own development opportunities where they purchase land. There's no grants available, but they just seek financing. And here's a good one that just showcases how it works. We've got projects of all different sizes. So this one here is based in Victoria, and it's just a project where a developer purchased land on their own, and now they're seeking financing, and the underwriting works. It's just a standard project for us. And the difference with BC Builds, especially in these housing development opportunities projects, is that we really try to focus on expediting construction start within 12 to 18 months of a project initiating with us. And what we do here is we bring all the components on the left, like the land, feasibility, the approvals, and the financing, and we focus a lot heavily on the partnerships so that sometimes we create, what do we call these? Project acceleration committee meetings where we get all the project stakeholders on board into the meeting to align the goals and timing so that we can focus on delivering the project in an expedited fashion. And that really helps us get through all the approvals, all the gaps, everything just lined up together. So that's it. So that's just a quick snapshot of BC Builds overall. And now we'll quickly try to run through the evaluation criteria for the property opportunity notice. Getting into the evaluation criteria, what we're going to be looking at in this housing development opportunity is we're going to focus heavily on the financial viability. Because there's no grants available, there's a heavy focus on the feasibility here to make sure that the finances, the budget, the pro forma, everything is in line, it works. And there's a score here weighted at 30. There's also a pretty heavy score weighting for the project development team experience and capacity. And that's just to ensure that we get qualified people that are participating in this proposal. And we want to focus heavily on what's the past experience, what have they delivered in the past, do they have capacity to take on this project. And also related to the first one, financial strength of the proponent, because it's financing only, we want to make sure that proponents are capable of taking on the debt. And it's not a brand new project, something that people are trying out. We want people that have experience and can deliver. Technical viability is also up there, just with the feasibility of the design itself, the building form, what the proposed development is going to look like, with the target markets, unit mix, and the rents. And then, of course, the proposed schedule, construction timeline, because we want to see a lot of projects start within that 12 to 18 month timeline of initiating with BC Builds. There's a score weighted here for that as well. So that's just a quick overview of the evaluation criteria. If you've got any questions about all this, we'll save that to the end. But for now, I think we'll pass it over to Carol at Williams Lake.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to discuss Poplar Glade. My name is Carol Rodriguez. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the Williams Lake First Nation. Also joined by Kirk Dressler, who's the Director of Legal and Corporate Services, as well as Courtney Cook, Chief Administrative Officer for the nation. We also have Marie and Gary from the city of Williams Lake to answer any questions you might have that the nation may not be able to answer. So again, we're here to discuss the Poplar Glade property, which is owned by the Williams Lake First Nation. Just taking a bit of a macro look at the region, Williams Lake is a well-established city in the heart of the Cariboo region of BC. It's about 3 hours north of Kamloops, and while the municipal population is around 11,000, the broader regional population is closer to 25,000 people. This really reflects the city's role as a service center for surrounding rural communities. Historically, the region has been tied to forestry, mining, and rail transportation industries. So this regional role and steady growth continue to shape demand for housing and community servicing development. Taking a look at the city of Williams Lake. Over the past decade, the city's population has grown at a faster rate than the provincial average, and its demographic mix includes a significant share of working age adults alongside children and seniors. The local economy is anchored by healthcare, retail, mining, and manufacturing sectors, which together really support a diverse job base. Recent studies done by Statistics Canada and the local government, the regional government, um, project that the region as a whole is going to need around 817 units by 2028. Half of those are expected to be absorbed by the city of Williams Lake alone. And at the same time, the municipal planning, including recent adopted official community plans, the regional really highlights the region's emphasis on diversification, sustainable growth, and economic resilience. So this broader economic and planning context helps to explain why the nation, with the support of the city of Williams Lake, is engaging with long-term development opportunities like Poplar Glade. Looking at the property itself, the Poplar Glade site is located at 845 11th Avenue North within Williams Lake. It's just under 6 acres and represents one of the largest redevelopment parcels within the city. The former elementary school is no longer there, so the site is vacant. And while it used to be zoned as institutional, with the help of the city, it has now been rezoned. So this is not raw land, really it's a prepared urban infill opportunity. As you can see from the picture, the site is embedded, with an established neighborhood. To the south is Kinsman Park, which creates a natural amenity value. To the east and the west are residential homes, and directly to the north is a manufactured home park. So again, this is not an expansion development, it's really an integration within an existing community. So not only is the site directly adjacent to Kinsman Park, it's also minutes away from the Caribou Regional Hospital, placing it within an established residential neighborhood with strong access to recreation and health services. It's also close to the Williams Lake Secondary School, the Chilcon Road Elementary School, and the local campus for the Thompson River University. It's also got convenient access to downtown Williams Lake civic amenities, and it's 800 meters away from the main highway. Looking at the site access, the primary access point will be from 11th Avenue North right here, as you can see. The termination of 10th Avenue, which is here, on the eastern edge, represents an opportunity for secondary access, such as a small cul-de-sac, really improving the circulation and the emergency response access. So the site's long frontage on 11th Ave gives us flexibility both in design and building placement, as well as, the opportunity for having light commercial development. Pedestrian access is also available to the site from Pigeon Avenue, Western Avenue, and 9th Avenue North through Kinsman Park. So as I've said previously, with the help of the city of Williams Lake, this site has been rezoned to MU1 neighborhood multi-use. So the zoning was specifically created to enable a multi-building mixed-use development, allowing for apartment, multiplex housing, and small-scale commercial uses such as retail, daycare, health services, and food establishments. So this zoning really provides flexibility while respecting neighborhood scale. On a side note, for anybody that might have questions on parking, the parking has to be located on site and meet municipal requirements. It includes harsh servicing, specific stall dimensions and backup width, but that's all accessible in the opportunity information. So efficient parking layout is really going to be key to maximizing a buildable area while preserving the green space offered by the property. Looking at the servicing status and development controls of this property, the site is already connected to city water and sewer from its previous institutional use. However, upgrades will be required to support higher residential density. This area is subject to municipal servicing capacity constraints, meaning that a full servicing study is going to be required. Luckily, we have, again, Marie and Gary here to answer any questions that you may have on those sorts of details. So really, it's a great property promising a lot of development potential with nearly 6 acres. The site supports multiple development configurations. It could include several residential building, potential ground floor commercial spaces facing the park or the street, an internal pedestrian pathway. So really, because of its size, the project could also be phased. I'd like to note that. This site really is rare in that it's a large rezone urban infill parcel with park adjacency. It benefits from long-term land control and zoning flexibility. WFN and the city have done a lot of groundwork to make the development possible. And again, with the support of the city, this is a project that WFN is eager to embark on. You'll notice that there's maybe a lack of design drawings or anything along those lines from WFN. I want to highlight that this is because the nation is looking for a partner. We don't want to be too prescriptive. We want someone to come in, look at the land, and maybe potentially have a vision for it and work with the nation and the city to make that a reality. So I guess we can move on to questions if anybody has any.
I see Casey with their hand up. Go ahead.
Hey, just a quick question, and thank you very much, guys, for the presentation. Casey Cookson here, CPA Development Consultants. I noted in your presentation and in the overview, it talks about focus on residential with commercial optional. So is there a clear mandate to include commercial, or is it truly an optional component for a prospective proponent?
Kirk, maybe I'll let you take that one.
No, thanks for the question, Casey, and it's a good one. I would see that as being truly optional. It's a bonus in terms of flexibility with the site. If it met with the vision and the pro forma, then certainly open to it as a concept, as I think the city would be. But it's not a mandatory requirement from our perspective at all.
Great, thank you very much.
Feel free to drop questions in the chat too if you don't want to speak up. We've had the awkward first question has already been broached, so I encourage anyone else with questions to come forward. You've got everyone in the room here, so it's a really good chance. Jessica.
Hey folks, nice to see you guys. I was reviewing the bid and I was wondering on the affordable or nonprofit portion of the project, if there's a specific community need that would be like beneficial to reflect, whether that's seniors or more shelter rates or middle income, like which is the BC bids standard, BC builds.
Do you mean from WFN's perspective, Jessica?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
because I assume that we'll need some like 20% non-profit housing, since you're requesting a housing society to be involved in the bid.
maybe this is, and BC Build can help us clarify this, but I don't think so. I think we're just we're going to be looking at the requirements for affordable housing. I don't know that that there's requirements for any of the other services that you've listed, but maybe BC Builds can clarify that for us.
Yeah, from the BC Builds side, there's no additional affordability required. It's just whatever's needed for the site. If you have something that you have a goal in mind, you feel free to present that as well. But we don't have any design or accessibility or affordability additions to tack on.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Jessica, from Williams Lake First Nations perspective, there would be no requirement for that inclusion either. If there is a need, and once again, it fits with the vision, potentially that's something could be addressed, but it's not a pressing consideration from our perspective either.
I think Alex was next.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Alex from HDR Architecture. Just kind of similar wavelength of question from Jessica. I know rezoning, you went through that process. Would like to hear more about what the community is actually looking for, because this is a very unique, I feel like it's a very unique lot. It's like right in the middle of a bunch of single family housing, looks like. There's obviously sensitivities about density and whatnot. What have you guys heard about the neighborhood that's like adjacent? And I guess from a financial standpoint, do you have a budget for this project that is in place? So those are the two questions I have right now at the moment. Thanks.
I guess I could just comment briefly, I guess, Alex, in terms of the complexion of the neighborhood. I think we've heard various things. I mean, it's single family dwelling mostly around there. And people are concerned about the typical considerations in terms of development. They're concerned about traffic. They're concerned about congestion. They're concerned about things that could sort of dramatically change the complexion of the neighborhood. That having been said, I mean, we would envision that this is sort of a potential for a significant new vision for Williams Lake. So there is the opportunity for creativity, and I think provided that the project is done well and there are no real issues that are created as a result of it, I think there's quite a bit of flexibility in the city, and Williams Lake First Nation are receptive to a variety of ideas. And in terms of the budget, no, there isn't one yet, because we have done some initial design development, but it's only conceptual, just to determine what possible uses are. I think ideally we are looking for that development partner that will come in and provide some insight, do some more analysis about community need, and have more familiarity with the financial side, and work with us collaboratively to develop a model. And I think only from that model will we have a budget and be able to move it forward.
Thank you.
There's a question in the chat just before we go to Jeff about I guess middle income limits. What market rent ranges need to be hit for this to work?
In terms of the rent levels, the market rents for this project would just be whatever can be appraised for the site and the product. For the middle income limits, those are posted on the website. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but it's somewhere around studios and one beds at 140-ish thousand per year. And for two beds and up, it's about 212,000 per year, in that range. And so those are the maximum limits for the entire province. But it also has to be scaled appropriately for the site. So it doesn't mean that you can just use those limits for any project across the province. It has to make sense. So that's what we really look for in the feasibility of what's presented.
Okay, we have Jeff, then Peter.
Great, thanks. Sorry if this has already been answered, but what is the Williams Lake First Nation involvement in the project itself? I understand that they're the owners of the parcel, but what involvement would they have through the development and then the ongoing operations? And then depending on the answer, I may have a follow-up question on that.
I think, Jeff, I don't think we know for certain. There are numerous kind of options or models that we could look at. I think Williams, like this property was acquired as a sort of a reconciliation related measure. It was a property that was disposed of by the school district. It was appropriate that Williams Lake First Nation have it and have some opportunity associated with it, given the history of our community, like many others around the country. And we are looking for something that does fill a need for Williams Lake First Nation, for our members. We're looking for things that something that fills a need for the community as a whole. And we're also interested in economic opportunity as well. So I don't think we have anything preconceived in terms of what the model would be. I don't think it's a necessity that we continue as a partner or an owner or as an operator, although that's something that we're willing to entertain or discuss. So really we're starting from a blank slate, and we're open to any discussions and any options in terms of models for ownership and an operation of the project.
Okay, follow-up question, if I might.
Sure.
If you were to continue on as owners in the project, would there be availability of equity participation from Williams Lake First Nations?
It is a possibility.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Peter was next, and then we have quite a few questions in the chat now as well.
Thank you. I'm just curious about the commitment to accelerated participation in the development permit process and the building permit process once this thing does get approved.
Sorry, Peter, can I just have you repeat that?
I'm just curious about what the commitment level to an accelerated development permit process and building permit process would be once this project gets approved.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for your question. I'm Marie Whitehead. I'm one of the planners with the City of Williams Lake, and we are committed to having very quick turnaround and processing time for development permits and building permits. We're committed to housing within our region, and we are committed to this project.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe turn to the questions in the chat now. The next one is, what are the communities need with regards to unit types?
I don't know if maybe the city has a little bit more insight on this, from some of the housing gap studies that have been done. I know that, one of the things that we want to do with this land is densify and maximize the amount of units that we can get on that. But I'll let Marie speak to needs.
So we do have a recent housing needs report from 2024, and it is available on our website. And we did use it to inform our more recent official community plan, which was adopted this past December. So that's able for review. I can say at a high level, the City of Williams Lake does need housing. We need all forms of housing. We will take everything.
While we're on the topic, I might then jump over to the second question here. Is there a target unit count for the site?
There's not from our perspective. Marie, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, not from Williams Lake First Nations perspective, not. I mean, we would like to see the site, I think the opportunities associated with it maximize, and that means densifying to the maximum extent possible. But once again, it has to be a realistic reflection of the market, and it has to make sense in terms of the financial pro forma. That's the only parameters as far as Williams Lake First Nation is concerned.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Kirk on that. Density is a priority. I think it would be a real shame to see this property go to a 10-lot subdivision. I think we've got a really strong possibility to include active transportation and increasing the density. There's multiple schools, the hospitals located nearby, and it is within town or within the city.
Thank you. So we'll go back to Imelda's question. By the way, if folks want to read out their own questions, they're more than welcome. Nope. What waivers are available through the Williams Lake First Nation city or region for permit costs and DCCs? And then as a follow-up, or grants. So I guess grants or waivers available.
So I can speak for the city. We currently do not waive our permit costs or DCCs for projects, but they are very reasonable prices. Right now, development permits are $550, and our building permits prices are based upon the value of construction.
Jumping down to JP's question, does the nation have its own housing society for ongoing operations?
No, we don't have a specific society.
Yeah, the answer to that is no. We don't have a society for ongoing operations. We have it's part of our government department. We run our own housing portfolio, but we don't have a dedicated society for the operation of a project like this off reserve.
We have a follow-up from Jeff. Have any due diligence activities taken place, such as geotech appraisals, surveys, etc.?
No, there has been no geotech that has been done to date. There's just some preliminary appraisal information, no survey, no environmental has been done yet. So no, there's still some due diligence that needs to be completed.
I can speak for the city. The property is not located within the new geotechnical development permit zone. So if any of you are familiar with Williams Lake, that's a good news.
And from Chris, this is probably for you, Murray. There will likely be a substantial offsite cost in terms of infrastructure upgrades, et cetera, to make this project happen. Will the city share these costs?
We would have to see a proposal and go from there.
And we have another question here. Will Williams Lake First Nation handle the demo of the existing buildings prior to development?
Sorry, do you mean demolition?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, but there's nothing on that land. Everything's been removed, so there would be no need for any demolition.
Correct, Carol.
I'm also going to share the housing need assessment that's been done by the region for anybody that is interested in reviewing that.
That's a great resource. Thank you for sharing that. And finally, is pre-development funding available through BC Builds or the city or the First Nation?
Yes, no. So if it's a for-profit entity, there is no pre-development funding. But if it's a nonprofit society, then we can look at an application for PDF funding.
Similarly, through Williams Lake First Nation, it depends on the nature of the project and the entity that's advancing it. There may be funding that's available to Williams Lake First Nation to do some of the pre-development work. That's a possibility. There are sources, but once again, it depends on some of the variables in the project. So something we could explore further.
Next question, is there a current copy of title available with all registrations?
Yes, we can make that available.
Any other questions? Well, you have all the folks from BC Housing and the city and from the First Nation here. Gabby, yes.
Hi there, Gabby James with Abide Developers. I just wanted a little bit of clarification on the ownership. I know it's a little bit up in the air and just looking for ideas, proposals, but just from my understanding with a $0 long-term lease, and if you were to have the proponent as the owner with a nonprofit or another society as the property manager, is there a benefit economically to Williams Lake First Nation, or is there a typical structure that you're looking to see in terms of ownership along with a successful proponent?
Once again, I think we're open to all options in terms of this property and the ownership structure. We would just have to look at it carefully and see how it broke down and what the opportunities would be for Williams Lake First Nation, financially and otherwise, by a proposed development. So nothing predetermined or that we have assumed in our case.
Okay, thank you.
Last call for any further questions. We will be sending out a recording of this. It will actually be a spliced 2 recordings that we put together from the 2 sections of the meeting. We see a few more popping up in the chat now. What is the plan after the 60-year lease ends?
Once again, and Carol can speak to it further if she wants as well. And I was absent for the kind of the beginning of the discussion with BC Housing about the ownership model. From my perspective, like I don't know after the 60-year lease ends. We're open to discussion about that, and otherwise the presumption would be the property would be returning to Williams Lake First Nation. But I'm open to considering any options in terms of ownership or models that would facilitate a project. And I'll just leave it at that. And invite any conversation on that topic to occur directly with Williams Lake First Nation.
Yeah, I think that if you can take anything away from this presentation is that the nation is open to suggestions. Really, we'll just look at the proposals and see what you have in mind.
Next question, can the appraisal be shared?
I will see what appraisal data is on file. I know the school district had done some, gathered some information at the time that they were receiving bids on the property. And so if I can locate it, I'll share what I have available.
Yeah, just a question on that for Ryan and Alistair. How do we, there's been requests for several documents. Do we share them with you and then you make them available through a link on the website, or how does that work?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Everything can get sent to us, and then we'll share it on the Williams Lake page.
As for the next question, will the deck be shared? Happy to make the PowerPoint presentation available, but all the information that I've shared today was just a summary off of the property opportunity notice. So all that information should be there as well.
I'm happy to share the deck. So we will send out the recording of this when it's available in a few days, and I'm happy to send the deck as well if people want it. Next question, are there any archaeological concerns with this property? How will this be handled?
We have not yet done a detailed archaeological study. Williams Lake First Nation owns its own archaeological consulting services firm. We would imagine that we will be doing the work on it. I do not believe I can't speak with absolute authority about the entire site, but I believe there's nothing within the RAD database of interest. We would be part of one of our initial kind of due diligence measures is to do some review of the property. And this is land that is under provincial jurisdiction, so we would have to be compliant with the Heritage Conservation Act. We don't anticipate that there is any significant archaeological issue with this property.
Yes, Gabby, go ahead.
Sorry, the chat's not working for me, or I would throw this in there, but is there a contact to ask any further questions to if they come up prior to submitting our proposal?
Hi, Gabby. I think it's best that everything go to Carol. Carol, can you share your information in the chat?
Yeah, I also just want to be mindful of BC Build's process. I'm sure that they're gonna want to make sure that everyone has the same information. So I don't know if there's a particular process they would like us to use. If not, yes, I'm happy to share my email address.
I can take that, Ellie. So yeah, I'll share the email in the chat. You can email us at info@bcbuildshomes.ca, and just make sure that you get your inquiry in before the inquiry deadline, because then we will roll it up in addendum and answer all of the questions. So I'll post the email in the chat and also the deadline for inquiries. Thanks.
Thanks, Emma Jane. Yeah, and to confirm any questions we receive, we want to make sure everybody has the same information. So any questions received will be shared in that addenda with the formal answers. Emma Jane, do you have that email and contacts? Otherwise, I can drop it in the chat here.
I got it. I'm just sending it now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, if that's it for any and all questions. We will sending out the recording of both sections of this meeting in a few days, and we can include the deck in that. After that, just please do direct any questions or communications to the BC Builds email that Emma Jane provided, and we will of course keep Carol included in all those as well.
Wonderful. Thanks for attending, everyone.
Thank you for your time. We will chat soon.